Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket eights. Played this one recently. Under the gun, open raised, 3 big blinds, folds around to the button. So I've got my early position, my under the gun, pre-flop raising range. Villain 8 calls from the big blind. He's playing 23-13, and what we notice is that from the big blind, he's playing 55% of hands. He's calling 50% of them, call 2 bets 50% of them. He raises with previous limpers 1 out of 3. Limp with previous limpers, don't think that necessarily applies. His 3 bet by position 1 out of 8. And his pre-flop raise is 2 out of 11. So I do think he can raise a little bit. When we look at his 3 bets, it does look like he has 3 bet steal one time. So I think he could probably raise, like aces, kings, ace, king, maybe a little bit wider versus a steal, but against the early position, I kind of expect those hands to raise. Now, he still has a pretty wide range if he's playing 50%. I didn't quite go 50%. I gave him 39%, something like this. If he's got 50, we're adding in more. I do have note that he has called 2 bet from the blinds with 10-7 suited. So if he's playing 10-7 suited, then he probably has 7-4 suited, probably has Jack 7, Queen 7, and so forth, and then all the rest. So I do think he's going to be pretty wide. Flop comes out ace king king with 2 hearts. Obviously this smashes my range pretty good, but there are hands that I kind of miss. So villain checks, and at this point, I think I was kind of thinking about how would I have normally played this hand if I had hit it hard. So if I had one of these big hands, I think if I had an ace, I probably am checking here because I feel like I'm going to be ahead with my ace queen ace jack. Or I'm going to be way behind to a king. Same thing with king. I think I'm going to be way ahead. Yeah, you can gamble that he has a heart, but I think this could be a flop where he's so wide that we're going to check and kind of hope he bets and plan to call here. So that's kind of why I checked here with the eights is I think I'm going to be check calling, check and then calling a turn lead. With quite a few hands. The 3 was a good card. He checked. I went ahead and bet and picked up the pot. So we didn't get to the river, but I wanted to inspect, what does GTO say? Since this is a possibility where we have an under pair or we have a pair, we raise, and then we get, big flop that should hit our range pretty hard. Do we continue c betting, or do we go ahead and go for like a delayed c betting? So let's check to see what GTO says. All right. So we've got it in. Villain's going to be checking. He's got such a weak range here. Wide and weak. He misses. He doesn't have nut advantage. Doesn't really have aces. Doesn't really have kings. Doesn't really have ace king. And that's kind of what I was thinking too, is that, if we assume he's going to 3-bet with those hands, this board completely misses him. Completely. Maybe I could get a call from like a queen jack or a queen 10 or something like that. So he checks, and it looks like we're betting 37.8%. It's a mixed strategy. It does look like these pocket pairs. We are going for some checks. We could mix in bets, and you can see that it looks like if we have the heart, we go for it, which I do have the heart. So we tend to favor betting a little bit more if we have the heart. Definitely as our pairs get weaker, we're increasing higher frequency. So like at fives, 5 club, 5 of hearts, it looks like we are betting 72% of the time. 72% of the time. This is 61% of the time with our sevens. 46% of the time with 8. 36% of the time with 9, and so forth. Aces full, we're checking. Quad kings, we're betting. I guess with quad kings, we're betting and hoping that he has the ace at that point, and hopes that he's going to pay us off completely. I mean, if he has ace jack, ace 10, yeah, he's going to probably pay us. Ace king's a bet, ace queen's a bet. I didn't expect these as much with the bets. I guess we have to play aggressively. I'm curious if we bet, what hands are going to call. Well, I guess all of the aces, all of the kings calls, and that is, I guess, represents pretty large percentage, 56%. 56%. So if he calls, then he checks again to us. Now we're betting our big hands, our unders that we were betting. We're checking. Do I think he would have called? Probably not. I think if he called the turn, then he probably would have called the flop. But at this point, probably not. So, when he checks, we would be betting. And again, he's calling aces, kings. He does have some jack 10 that he could be calling. He could call in some of the queens just as bluff catchers, but mostly we're just being aggressive. So I checked. 3 of clubs comes out. Now villain should be betting, 46.6%. He has bluffs here. He doesn't. He checks here. So then once he checks, now it looks like we're betting 15.3%. So probably should have bet the flop and then bet again on, or check the turn if he had called. Here, GTO is saying we should just go ahead and check with all of those. I guess because he should have bet a lot, and that means we're going to be way ahead. We can risk giving the free card. So let's say we checked. Let's say it's just a 2 hearts came out. Let's say villain checks again. What do? We check it down. So we go check with our 8s and hope we win. If he bets, sometimes we're calling, sometimes we're folding. I think we're calling just to kind of keep him honest. Just to see if he has anything. What if it's a different card? Let's say it's a 10. If villain bets, sometimes calling. We're gonna probably lean a little bit more towards folding. I wouldn't. I think this is a half pot bet. If he goes larger, I think he's going to be more polarized. We're probably going to be arguing more for a fold. So let's kind of do this. Out of position leads out. Let's say he fires for bot. Let's run the solver and we'll be back. All right. So finished out here. Villain checks. Still looks like we should probably bet here. I didn't. So I checked. 3 clubs comes out. Villain checks again. Now we're betting, 18% of the time we're betting some of those as bluffs, and then we're betting our aces here. Still trip aces, so aces full. We're checking. Let's say 10 clubs. Let's say he leads out 6.5. He leads out for a pot bet. I think that's probably realistic. We're leaning more towards a fold with our 8s. I think that's a little bit more realistic. Let's say we have a 4 diamonds comes out, something low. If he leads out again, we're still kind of leaning towards folding. We could obviously call here, but we're leaning more towards folding. What if it's a big card? What if it's a queen and he bets? Still kind of leaning towards folding. I think we kind of make the decision on the flop that we're going to be checking here. We do have hands that we call with, with their aces. We do tend to call with some jacks and 10s. But mostly, once we check, I think we basically are just going to be checking it down. And that's where GTO is saying I kind of messed up. I should have c-bet here, but once I didn't, I should just be checking it down. And if villain bets, just kind of give up. I'm not sure if I like that or not. I mean, against a GTO player, maybe, but I doubt players GTO. Not if he's called with 10-7 of spades. Granted, we don't know what player bet that allowed him to call. So I mean, if it was a button, maybe that's a little different. But he still called to be out of position for the entire hand. What if this paired? What if this paired the ace, which is possible? All right. If he leads out, now he's leading out. big hands and so forth, so we can call. And this again just kind of goes down to what GTO thinks he should be betting. If he's gonna just try to take a stab with some of these, let's say some of these queens, because he's got a queen high, the more combos he bets with those, the more likely we call, just like the tens. If we think he's going to be betting with queen and jack, just kind of as a bluff, then the more likely it is we should be calling with those queens, because he's going to have bluffs in his hands. So that's why I think when it says we're going to mostly fold to the eights, I think it's because according to GTO, it's not expecting him to be betting much other than like aces. Aces are going to be a pretty big combo, and you can see it. Top pairs, almost 50% of his range here. So in the weak pair, it's 45% of his range. It's almost like 50-50. And at this point, we've only invested in 3 big blinds. Really, no harm to just fold and save it. We need to be good 33% of the time, and based on this distribution, we're not going to be good 33% of the time. If he bets pot, so we're betting pot. And we need to be 20. Yeah, let's see here. Pot over 1, 2, 3. Yep, 33%. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this hand. If you did, look tomorrow for another one.